All right, let's talk about Richmond, but let's do it honestly. Everybody's got an opinion about the city right now. People call it a hidden gem, an underrated city, a best-kept secret. And honestly, that usually tells me they don't live here day to day. Because Richmond in 2026 isn't really about growth or change. It's about how you live here. That's the part most people miss. So if you clicked on this video wondering what it's actually like living in Richmond, Virginia in 2026, not the highlight reel, not the hype, not the weekend version, you're in the right place. If you're thinking about moving here or you already live here and you're wondering why your days suddenly feel heavier, you're not imagining it. Richmond didn't break, it just stopped being automatic. There's a big difference between cruising down Broad Street at 10:30 in the morning, thinking, yeah, this is easy, and hitting that same stretch at 5:15 in the afternoon and quietly questioning every decision you've made that day. The people who are thriving here figured something out early. They didn't just move to Richmond, they learned how to live within Richmond. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. This video isn't about the Saturday version of the city, not brewery hopping, not festivals. It's about the Tuesday version, the one that determines whether you fall in love or slowly burn out and move again in 2 years. Once you understand that Richmond, the city makes a lot more sense. And honestly, it gets even better. Quick reset. I didn't always see Richmond this way. For a long time, I thought if you bought a solid house in a decent area, everything else would just fall into place. And sometimes it does. But after living here long enough and helping people relocate here again and again, patterns started showing up whether I wanted them to or not. Same city, same price point. Completely different daily lives. And for context here, I'm a native Richmonder and I specialize in helping people relocate to this area. I've watched the city stretch, change, settle, and repeat that cycle more than once. And when people reach out, it's not a team or an assistant, it's me. We talk it through together. What clicked for me was this. It wasn't about picking a good neighborhood. It was about whether someone's actual life worked there. Here's the honest part. And this is where people usually nod or finally understand why their days feel heavier. Richmond isn't hard. It's just very honest. If your routine lines up, this city feels smooth, almost effortless. If it doesn't, the friction shows up fast and it sneaks into everything. Mornings, errands, your mood. Let me give you a real example. I work with clients who generally loved their house. Great street, solid price. On paper, a win, but their daily loop was chaos. Work on one side of the city, school drop-off on the other, errands stacked into rush hour, and every single morning started with a river crossing at peak time. Same city, same budget, totally different experience than someone whose life stayed compact. Once they moved closer to where their real life actually happened, Richmond suddenly felt easy again. Nothing about the city changed. Their routine did. That's the pattern. Richmond rewards people who live close to their life, not the idea of a life. Yes, the average commute here still sits mid 20-minute range, shorter than a lot of similar metros, but that stat doesn't matter if those minutes are unpredictable or stacked at the wrong times. And most people here still drive. Roughly 3/4 of residents are in their cars every day. So where you live matters more than how good the house looks online. You feel it in small moments. Cruising Broad Street late mornings feels calm and manageable. Hit that same stretch at 5:15 and suddenly the city feels way more intense than it actually is. Or take crossing the river. Living on the same side of the James as your daily routine versus relying on bridges like the Nickel Bridge every morning can quietly decide whether your day starts relaxed or already annoyed. That's not drama, that's lived experience. That's why you might move here and immediately feel settled, while someone else feels like Richmond is changing or getting harder. It's not nostalgia, it's alignment. And this is usually the point where guessing starts costing people time and stress. If Richmond's on your radar, or you're already here and something feels off, reach out. I help people map their real daily routine before they choose where to live. No pressure, no sales pitch, just clarity. My information's below. This is the mistake I see constantly, even with very smart buyers. People obsess over countertop square footage, good bones, and they underestimate the neighborhood. In Richmond right now, that's backwards. The house matters, sure, but the neighborhood decides how your life actually feels on a Tuesday, not how it photographs on closing day. Richmond doesn't behave like one city. It's more like a collection of small, opinionated villages stitched together by habit and timing. Two houses priced the same can deliver completely different lives. One puts you 5 minutes from everything you touch daily. The other looks great, but quietly taxes your time every single day. That's not theory. That's Tuesday. Take the difference between living near the Fan versus pushing farther out towards the near West End. In the Fan, your world compresses. You hear people walking dogs in the morning. You smell coffee drifting out of the corner spots. Errands stack naturally, even if parking makes you mutter under your breath. In the near West End, life stretches out. More space, quieter nights, easier parking, but you're driving for almost everything. Neither is better. They just reward different routines. In Richmond, households in more car-dependent neighborhoods often spend thousands more per year just on transportation and time-related costs compared to people living in more compact, walkable areas. Same city, very different daily math, and this is where assumptions break down. Some people assume paying less for a house farther out automatically means an easier life. But in Richmond, price gaps between neighborhoods have compressed, while lifestyle gaps have exploded. You might save on the purchase and pay it back in time, stress, and car cost. You feel it day to day, walking to grab something quick versus loading up the car, being on the same side of the river as your job versus planning around bridges, hearing city noise at night versus complete quiet and a longer morning drive. These aren't abstract trade-offs. They show up in your schedule, your mood, and how much energy you have left. Here's the truth most people don't learn until they've lived here for a minute. Richmond does not reward perfection. It rewards alignment. If you're chasing flawless streets, instant convenience, and zero friction, this city will humble you fast. But if you're okay with character, trade-offs, at a place that shows its seams, Richmond starts to feel honest instead of frustrating. This is a city of trade-offs, not extremes. You get charm and history, but that might come with an older house that creaks when winter hits. You get walkability, but you might circle for parking. You get quiet, leafy streets, but that usually means driving for everything. And the people who thrive here don't fight that. They choose the version of Richmond that actually fits how they live. You see it block by block. In Churchill, you're traded perfect infrastructure for views, brick sidewalks, and that moment when the city opens up in front of you at sunrise. In Scott's Addition, it's the opposite trade. Newer buildings, more noise, more people, a social high-energy lifestyle that isn't exactly quiet. Neither is better. They just serve different people. And here's what matters: expectations. People who are happiest here aren't pretending Richmond is something it's not. They're choosing it for what it is. That's why two people can live 10 minutes apart and have completely different takes on the city. One feels stressed, the other feels settled. Let's clear something up, because this is where the internet gets dramatic. Growth is not ruining Richmond. What it's doing is pulling the curtain back on systems that were already stretched. The city didn't suddenly break. It's being asked to do more with bones built for a smaller, slower version of itself. Richmond has always worked on quiet efficiency, short distances, familiar routes, a lot of locals know better shortcuts. Growth stress-tested that system. Some parts held up great, others showed cracks immediately. Roads, utilities, permitting, river crossings. None of this is new. It's just more visible now. You feel it in everyday moments. A water main break that turns a normal morning into chaos. A quick errand that suddenly takes forever because one small incident backs everything up. But here's what people miss. Despite all the complaining, overall quality of life satisfaction here is still relatively high. People aren't miserable. They're annoyed. That's an important difference. Most frustration comes from small, repeated inefficiencies, not from feeling unsafe or disconnected from the city. And locals adapt. They shift schedules, they learn which routes to avoid, they cluster life closer to home. Richmond rewards that flexibility. Richmond runs on rhythm, not distance. Same streets, same routes, wildly different outcomes depending on the hour. Late morning, the city gives you space. You're rolling down Broad Street, windows cracked, coffee in hand, no real urgency. Then 5:30 hits. One brake tap ripples backwards. Lanes feel tighter. Everyone's suddenly late and a little irritated. Nothing changed except the clock. Richmond doesn't suffer from all-day congestion like bigger metros. Pressure stacks into short bursts. That's why longtime residents don't measure trips in miles. They measure them in timing. You notice it everywhere once you're paying attention. Midday in Carytown feels loose. Catch it at night or on a packed weekend, and suddenly everything takes effort. Early morning on the Capitol Trail is calm. Late afternoon near bridge crossings spikes fast. People who feel relaxed here aren't lucky. They're learning the timing. Even a little flexibility changes how Richmond feels. Two people can live the same distance from work and have completely different stress levels based purely on when they move. Richmond isn't hard to navigate. It's predictable once you respect the rhythm. Work quietly rewired how Richmond functions, not with some big announcement. It happened through small decisions. One less commute day, one more midday errand, one more I don't actually need to be on 95 at 8 a.m. Richmond is still a job hub. Healthcare, government, education, professional services, but workdays are no longer synchronized. A large share of people now work remotely or hybrid. Translation, fewer people moving at the same time. More people choosing when to move at all. That's why the city can feel calm at 11 a.m. and crowded at 4:45 p.m. You feel it in real life. Downtown used to go quiet outside lunch. Now it hums, laptops open, people fitting life between calls instead of after them. Location feels different because routines changed. Being 10 minutes closer to work matters less if you only commute 3 days a week. What matters more is how close you are to groceries, gyms, trails, schools, and that one reliable coffee shop that anchors your morning. This is where people either feel brilliant or blindsided. Two neighborhoods can be priced similarly and deliver totally different lives depending on work style. Richmond doesn't sneak up on your wallet. It taps you on the shoulder repeatedly. Living here isn't about one massive financial shocker. It's a steady drip of small, very visible charges. On paper, Richmond still sits near the national average. Housing looks reasonable compared to bigger East Coast cities. Daily life tells a more detailed story. Utilities show up. Transportation shows up. Local taxes show up. None are outrageous alone. They just don't hide. Housing is the first trade-off people notice. Living in a place like the Fan might stretch the purchase price, but daily life can get cheaper when errands stack on foot and the car stays parked. Compare that to living farther out. The house might cost less, but you're paying for it constantly in car time, fuel, insurance, and effort. Transportation is the quiet budget killer. Utilities catch people off guard too, especially in older homes. Summer humidity pushes electric bills higher than newcomers expect. Food follows the same pattern. Groceries feel normal. Eating out is where budgets quietly stretch. Richmond makes it very easy to justify one more $20 lunch. People don't feel broke here. They feel busy financially. Richmond doesn't bundle cost, it itemizes them. Once you understand that rhythm, the city stops feeling expensive and starts feeling straightforward. This is the part people feel before they can explain it. Living in Richmond isn't about choosing between good and bad. It's about deciding which friction you're willing to live with. Time is the first currency. Distances are short, but predictability matters more than mileage. A 10-minute drive that crosses the river at the wrong hour can cost more mental energy than a longer loop that stays on one side. Money works the same way. It's rarely one big expense. It's the stacking, car insurance, utility bills, that one repair you didn't plan for, and then there's mental load, knowing which bridge to avoid, when to run errands, how to schedule around heat, storms, or events. That adjustment cost is real. The upside? Control. People who align home, work, and daily loops feel better here, even if housing costs more. Richmond gives you leverage if you learn it. That's why someone in a smaller place with smoother routine often feels richer than someone with more space and constant logistical stress. Richmond rewards a very specific type of person right now. The people who win here aren't chasing perfection. They're chasing alignment. If you like cities that feel human, a little scrappy, and quietly clever, Richmond can feel like it's rooting for you. If you need everything frictionless, automated, and instantly responsive, this place will test your patience fast. People who thrive here tend to care more about how Tuesday feels than how exciting Saturday looks on Instagram. Hybrid workers, healthcare professionals, creatives, people with flexible schedules. On the flip side, people who struggle usually came in with mismatched expectations. Socially, Richmond favors patience. It's friendly, but not instant. Community builds through repetition, regular spots, familiar faces. Here's the line that sums it up. Richmond works best for people who want life to feel intentional, not optimized by an algorithm. And here's something to think about. Do you want a city that removes every obstacle or one that gives you control if you learn it? That answer tells you a lot about whether Richmond is a fit.